Hey everyone, this is Carlos. I'm the CEO at Product School. And today I'm here with Brian Huss, who is the VP of Innovation at PrizePicks's. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Hi, Carlos. Thanks for having me.
I always host product executives, and I've never seen the title VP of Innovation. So I'd love for you to explain more about what that really means and how that's different than VP of Product, which is something that I know you've also done before.
Yeah, so what I do and what my team does is really a second, we are a parallel product team. I think it's the job of everybody in the organization to innovate and to, try to think creatively about how we best serve our customers. But how this started was PrizePicks has been around since about 2018 and had one core product, which really achieved great product market fit and was doing exceptionally well. And there was so much to do on that product and continues to be that team was not going to have the room or the mind share to think about what comes in 3 years, what comes in 5 years. So they spun up a second product team, referred to as the innovation team, but really was another product team to look at what might lie ahead, to try to say, okay, we have the one thing that we're doing at PrizePicks that's going really great. How do we make every part of your fan experience better? Because PrizePicks is part of it with building new games and new products. And of course, we work very, very closely with that second team, with some of the shared services that we use and, design patterns that we showed that we create in the products. Despite the fact that we're two teams, it is really one product.
It's a product team. Basically, you're using this term to differentiate the core product versus the other products that you're working on.
That's right.
So tell me more about that core product that first started and how it got that initial traction.
Sure. So PrizePicks is the biggest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. And so we started back in 2017. And the idea was, if you think about a conventional I think a lot of people are in fantasy football or fantasy baseball leagues where you are picking a group of players and you are adding up all of their statistics. How PrizePicks put a twist on it was to say, we're going to give you a series of projections. We're going to say, we think LeBron James will score 23.5 points tonight, and then you choose more or less than that based on how you think he'll perform. You're using your skill to say, I think LeBron will do this. I think Giannis will do that. And one of the fun parts is you can mix sports. So you could make a lineup of LeBron James, Christian McCaffrey in football, and Shohei Ohtani in baseball. And your job is to use your skill to figure out how you think all the players are going to perform. And if you make good picks, that's how you win. And I think what really landed about the product with our players was, first, it's very, very simple to get into. When you get into our product, you register, you deposit some money, and you can play right away. And you can see right on the screen a series of player headshots. You are not trying to fish through a big wall of numbers. You're saying, oh, hey, Patrick Mahomes, I know who he is. He's great. Maybe I'll take the more on his passing yards. But wait, he's playing a really hard defense. Maybe I should take the less. And we give you the tools to dig into that and, and figure that out for yourself. But it's really, we think it's working because it's consistent with how fans already talk. How we say, hey, do you think LeBron's going to go for 25 tonight? Like, that is in the way that fans interact with each other already. And that's landed really well for us. I think a second thing that has worked really well is, we have created this amazing community on Discord. The same way that in your season-long fantasy football league, you might have you and your 10 friends saying, "Oh, why'd you take that guy? He's terrible. Oh no, you did a great job. I wanted him. He's great." You do that in our league, but in our Discord, but you can do that with a community of 500,000 people. And it is that same dialogue, and it's people, interacting the way that sports fans do. It's bringing people together. We get some of our partners in there showing their own picks as well and getting their communities behind them. It's a really, really just fun place to be. And I think that fun, that simplicity and accessibility, and that authenticity that we've developed in our voice in our community, I think that's really what's working.
And I can't wait to dig in there. I also want to know, what are the products that you're actually leading as part of your innovation team that are not the core product that you just described?
Sure. So we created a couple of variations of the game to let people in different states play it in different ways. Because like the idea and the regulation behind fantasy sports differs in every single state, and we've really wanted to work very closely with those regulators to say, let's make something that's amazing for our consumers and that fits into your regulatory framework too. So we built a version of the game called Arena, which is a peer-to-peer game. So your job is not just make the best picks, make picks that are correct, but make picks that enable you to finish in first place in your group. We put you in a group with other players of your relative skill level, and you win by doing great in your group, and then there's a bonus we give you on top of that if you got all your picks right. So, and that's really setting up the framework for an even bigger peer-to-peer strategy that I'd like to pursue. But part of that, we had to establish some concepts that were pretty basic, but the PrizePicks never had before. They never had usernames and ways to identify like your entry versus my entry, because of the previous version of the game that didn't matter. They just never built it. So we built this as part of creating the Arena game. Similarly, we've just come out with a free-to-play game called Streak, which is even simpler to get into. The idea is we give you a choice between 10 players, and you pick just for one of them. Do you think that the player will do more or less than the projection that we give you? And your job is to get the most picks in a row right that you can. And when you hit certain milestones, we will give you a free lineup to play in the main game as well. So my team's been looking at what are all the different ways that players want to interact with the PrizePicks model, and created games that fulfill those needs.
So it sounds like you built a platform that can be modularized in a way. And so you can spin out these additional products that still repurpose a lot of the technology that you created. And you are just testing what resonates better with different segments of your database, right?
That's totally right. Yeah. In all of these games, we are showing a player. We are doing quite a bit of data science work to establish a projection that we think is really, really, truly a 50-50 proposition. We process payments, we do live scoring. All of those things apply to all the products that we do. And so those are, like as you said, shared services among a platform that we then build different game variations on top of.
So there were two elements you mentioned that made your first product very successful very quickly.
Yeah.
One of them is the Discord community, and the other
Mhm.
one is the easy onboarding, allowing users to like literally get into the aha moment and the fast enough without having to maybe put together an entire team or commit to an entire season and whatnot.
Right.
But I can imagine that those two elements can also be applied to the innovation products you're working on, right? Like, what is the role that in this case the Discord community is playing within the two additional products?
Yeah. Since you are still making picks and building lineups, that same communication and posting your lineup and asking if it's good or what other people think of it. That still happens in the games that my team has built in addition to the core game. So that's an important part of it. But the community can also be a rich way to gather feedback on new products or ideas for things that we haven't built yet. We have some community moderators who we will often bounce new game ideas off of them and get their feedback on where we're going to head next. So the Discord community resonates a lot, and it's a way that where people who they find the Discord before they found the main game,
Yes.
and that can be an entry point into PrizePicks's as well. So that's really powerful for us.
Yeah, let's talk about that entry point,
Yeah.
because as you said, Discord is a different business, and I know it's very popular among gamers. So
Yeah.
what was the rationale behind leveraging a third-party community versus you building your own?
Yeah. So it's funny. I've been working in fantasy sports for quite a long time. And I think I, like others, have made one important mistake in the past, which has been to think, well, people have their separate group texts or Slacks or Discords or whatever it is where they're talking about their league. Wouldn't they find it more convenient if they could just have the communication tools right inside the game they're playing? And the answer is no. If a conversation is already happening, you will not be successful in your efforts to try to pick it up and move it, even if it seems more convenient for the user. They have their pattern, and that is how they're going to communicate. And so rather than trying to make the communication come to us, we decided to go where the communication was already happening and to put our own spin on it. We while the community is obviously very rich on its own, that doesn't just happen. We spend a lot of time coming up with different threads, different ways to structure the conversation, and we also use it to launch several of our promotions, which our players really like. We a couple of examples are, we have what's called a community play, where the Discord community will come together and they'll vote on a lineup that they all want to back together. And sometimes when some of our celebrity or our influencer partners will come in, they'll get involved in that too. And we'll say, hey, back their lineups. And in fact, we're doing a big live event coming up. By the time when this airs, that'll already be over, called the PrizePicks's World Championship, where some of our social media partners, Drewski, Book It with Trent, people who are doing really, really well, and they make their own picks and they have a contest against each other, and the community can get involved in that. So in the community, we also launch our biggest promotion called Taco Tuesday, which is where on Tuesdays we will put into the community some projections that we are choosing to discount. So for example, if we think LeBron is going to score 23 and a half points, somewhere in there, we'll say, actually, we're going to give you a better chance by saying you only have to pick against it as 19 and a half, for example, to discount that and give you a better chance. And that whole idea, really kind of spun out of that community, and there's a lot of discussion about it there. So it really does excite and empower our players to want to engage with us more and more.
And I'm very passionate about community. That's also a strategy that we've leveraged at Product School since the beginning. We don't use Discord. That's not where most of our users are, but I can totally resonate with the idea of creating a space that you can't fully control, where there is value not just from you to others, but also in between people. I remember having the VP of product at Twitch here on the podcast, and one of the things that he was talking about is how to engage with his own content creators. I noticed that also with PrizePicks, you guys have a lot of like influencers, content creators, live streamers. I don't know how you call them, but like tell me more about that connection, not only just within Discord, but with the whole ecosystem of content creators that are leveraging Discord and other platforms?
Sure. So, I'll say a couple of things. If you going into the Discord and just seeing the incredible stream and volume of conversation is really something special to watch. It goes very, very fast, and it creates this sense of excitement, almost like you're at a game where you're seeing all of this information come in from all these different directions. It's a really, really cool spot to be in. But in terms of finding those content creators, those partners, we go out, looking for who are people who have a really authentic voice, who have established something new, a new way of interacting with their communities, and don't just seem like they are putting on a show or they're faking something. Because it's really important that they feel real, that they are real, because people respond to that. Like if you are in a community and you're creating content and it's not something you believe in, it's not authentically yourself, your audience is going to see through that right away. And so we've been really, really intentional at finding, who are some people out there who they're doing something that's really resonating with a community that we think would be really interested in PrizePicks too. And oftentimes we'll discover the influencers because they're already playing. And it resonates when someone says, hey, I see, I'm a big fan of Drewski. I love what he does. Oh, he's playing PrizePicks. Well, that interests me. That makes me want to be part, because I am part of his community. I want to be part of the things he's doing too. And so we are definitely very, very intentional about the way we do this, and looking for those really authentic voices, and that has worked very, very well.
So going back to your 3 product portfolio, last one you mentioned is a free to play. So I'm trying to connect that to maybe a more traditional B2B SaaS product where they have a free version or a freemium version. And then from there are ways to help the user upgrade into a paid program. I would love to learn more about what is your standard user journey and how you're thinking about connecting the different products.
Sure. So we started doing free games as ways to fill in our map of states where PrizePicks could be available. Because as I mentioned, the state-by-state regulatory nature of what we do, in some states, none of our paid products have been approved fully yet. So we have those ongoing conversations are happening all the time, but it's a very, very long process in a lot of places. And we just wanted people to be able to experience the fun of what PrizePicks is. And so it is easier for us to launch a free game in a state. So we start there and we get people in the mindset of, okay, this is how I make predictions. I associate PrizePicks with fun around sports, and that it gets me in the mindset of wanting to play on PrizePicks. We are just now exploring the ideas, and we're really just to the point with our technical platform where we can do this, is to enable multiple games in the same state. So we have a pretty strongly held hypothesis, thanks to observation of, say, things like Duolingo or things like Strava, that that streak behavior of wanting to have that engagement, day after day. It's a really powerful motivator, and we are planning to roll out shortly, using the free games to create more retention with the paid games, bringing those together into a single user journey. That's just getting off the ground now. And what we'll do in the future is have more and different kinds of free games that are going to appeal to people who maybe we don't have in our ecosystem yet, but who are interested in different kinds of sports, different kinds of games. That's where we'll go next.
So, what are the specific leading indicators that you that are top of mind for you?
Sure. So, we look for, uh, do we see people, um, well, one, we study our overall user journey, our overall funnel, and we look at where are people dropping out. If we see people who they don't make it to their first deposit, then we study, okay, why? Where are they hitting errors in that process? Is the UI not easy enough to understand? So I think we're doing what I think a lot of products do, is like find out where your funnel is leaking and do everything you can to plug that. What we do after that is we want to get you to a win very early in your life cycle, because it is truly a skill-based game. It's a game where you really have just as good a shot as anyone else to have success. And we want, because that's where the fun comes from. That's where if I got one right in my first couple of lineups that I make, I think to myself, oh yeah, not only do I see my own skill coming to bear here, but it also made my experience actually watching the game more fun. It gave me something to get excited about. It gave me something that I can share with other fans, with my friends who I know. And so what we're watching is, are you having some level of success? And we try to give you the kind of promotions that I mentioned. We make sure that all the projections are really, really fair. And so we watch kind of how you're doing and just try to coach you up, because we want you to succeed. We want this to be something that you find is a fun part of your entertainment journey. So we're always keeping our eyes on that. And over time, we want to see people generate. We want them to stay with us longer. We want them to hopefully refer other people onto the platform. That's an important indicator for us. And just, do they come back and do they visit us? Even if they don't make a lineup on that day, are they checking their score? Are they reading an article? Or are they just looking at the board? That has value for us. Any place where people are interacting with anything PrizePicks has to offer, we really, really value that.
So, how do you structure your own product team to ensure
Yeah,
that they are focusing on those leading indicators?
yeah. So we're in the middle of kind of figuring some of that out and shuffling some of those things around. When we started with my group, we have three specific product managers who each had responsibility for one of these new games. They inevitably ended up part working hand in hand with people on the core team to make sure that those the player cards, the way you build your lineup, the way you see your scoring reflected, that it was reflecting what was needed for that new game while being consistent with the design pattern and the design system that we have in place now. I talk about our games as they're part of the same family, but they're not identical twins, and so we had to work to make sure that we were giving the games their own identities while fitting into the larger ecosystem. So what we've gotten better at over time is giving each of our teams particular metrics that are important for them to try to move, and to give them the flexibility to come up with solutions that they think will drive those metrics themselves. So I'd say one example is that our free game, so one aspect of it is looking at, are we retaining players over a week, 2 weeks, a month? So we watch that retention rate very closely and kind of organize the team to make sure that they're going after that. What we might do over time is realign some things to say, okay, is there a horizontal product team who is responsible for examining the entire user journey across all our games and really laser focusing on finding points that we think could drive greater retention rates across the board rather than just within a single product. So that org design is tricky, and that is definitely a work in progress for us. But I do see us going more around maybe a direction where everyone has something of a horizontal and a vertical, where they've got a particular new, either a new game or a new section of a game that they're owning, but they're also looking at what is a particular user journey or a particular metric that I can really own.
Yeah, that's where my mind was going, because I can imagine there's a lot of cross pollination across your
Yeah.
products, and maybe you can draw some insights in terms of like higher usage in one product can lead to then an upgrade into maybe one of your paid products and whatnot. And even within a particular product, I know you cover so many different sports, including
Yeah.
esports. So I'd be curious to know also how you do expansion within your current product.
Yeah. Yeah. So a bunch of things. We are always looking at how can we provide new things, new projections, and new types of ways you can, jump in there and do your research and use your skills to uh, build lineups in new ways. Like, I'll give you a few examples. One is we just launched a product just in the last couple of weeks that we call Live Squares. And the idea there is we give you this projection before the game. And let's say you don't get to prize picks until a few minutes after the game started. You're kind of out of luck. Now, you could make picks for the second half or the fourth quarter. We did offer that, but we wanted to make it so you could play prize picks whenever you wanted, whenever you got there. So what happens now is our data science team is running these projections constantly. And so the projection is always changing, and you can jump in and choose more or less there based on where you are in that point of the game. Example could be, okay, let's say that before the game, LeBron James' projection is for 20 points, but he's already got 10 in the first quarter. And that's the time where you jump in. Well, 20, he's pretty obviously going to break that. So really, to make it a true, kind of 50-50 thing you want to look at, we should now be saying, well, will he do more or less than 30? And so that Live Square product has done really, really great for us, because it's on like your schedule as a player. You don't have to, get there before the game starts. You can play whenever you want. So looking at that has been important for us. We've done really well with what we call, combo markets, where you're looking at the two players together and how many rushing yards they get, how many 3-pointers they make. So if the one player doesn't do as well, but the second one does really great, that still has a chance to be a positive outcome for you. So looking at new ways we can kind of group the data together and give players new things to pick. And then finally, third, I'd say looking at different sports and different things to cover. You mentioned esports. On its own, Counter-Strike 2 is the fourth biggest sport that we have. The ability for people to play that and the knowledge that people get about that is really, really incredible. It is so popular. And so I think we cover 8 or 9 different esports titles, and it's those do really well for us too. We're always exploring what are new sports, new games that our audience is going to love, and can we give them the opportunity to make those players part of their lineups.
But that is incredible that some of your top sports are actually esports.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll tell you, I've seen the numbers and the industry research about how big the esports market is, but I didn't get it. I didn't feel it until I actually went to an event, and I tell you, it's amazing. It is like going to I'll be respectful and say football game in London, a baseball game in Japan. People on their feet, they're chanting, they're yelling, the energy is like nothing you've ever seen. You go into an event, you see why esports is so popular and why people love it.
So how do you go about picking those categories? I mean, even within the traditional sports, I see that you cover college sports in some cases, but esports is
Mhm.
much more innovative, right? Like there are games that come and go. It's not like baseball is going anywhere. Like so tell me more
Right.
about that portfolio of different sports and how you go about picking what to invest in next.
Sure. So we study market sizes. We study how many people are going to events, they're watching or streaming different events. How do we see the sport kind of on the way up in terms of its popularity curve? So trying to understand how many people are likely to want to play this, particularly in the audience segments with which we do the best. So we start there. We then look at, is there data available? Our games rely on third party verifiable sources of data, so that there is no opinion aspect where a player can say, oh, PrizePick said that guy had 20 headshots in this Counter-Strike game, but actually I saw it, he had 22. You need to get that third party source. And so if that data doesn't exist, then we can't run the games. That has to be there. And so that's important. And then can we find experts who can work with the data and can create projections that are fair, and that have a consistent pattern over time, so that it is not simply guessing. It is not simply randomness. The members are actually bringing their skill to the table on very fairly established projections. So it's a complicated process, but we did, and I think, like any product, we do a lot of testing. We will put certain sports live in certain states or to certain audience segments, and see how they respond. And if they don't do well, we might limit or end our investment in them. But if they do well, that leads us to want to do more and roll it out bigger. And we always try to learn from how our players are responding that way.
Yeah, I think there's additional complexity with your product, not only given your scale, but given the regulatory aspect and also the
Yeah.
heavy data investment that is required to maintain like pretty much real time, accurate information about what's going on across so many sports, so many things at the same time. So I'm curious to know, how is AI impacting the way you guys are thinking about data?
Yeah. So, so what we do now is we have a variety of, sources that from which we are getting data to make sure that it's happening in real time, that our projections are fair. And we are running quite a few, machine learning algorithms to ensure that our projections get, better and better over time. Yeah. I mean, when I look at the future of, how will we use AI, more than we do now, that may point us to everything from how do we optimize the projections we have, how do we create a truly personalized experience for every single user? How do we really understand their behavior in a way that no human or group of humans is going to be able to do, to say, I'm going to give you the players that you're really, really going to like, the ones you're really going to care about. So creating that personalized experience, I think, is going to be an important part of what AI will start to do for us. Yeah, I think as time goes on, it will help us, just continue to get better and get smarter and maybe open up new, new markets, new kinds of projections we could do that, we're not even conceiving yet. The possibilities there are endless.
Yeah. So talk to me about the future. I mean, it's a space that is growing. I mean, I remember growing up,
Yeah.
didn't even know this option existed for me, right? And now it's a whole different way of experiencing live sports and entertainment. But there's also more competitors in the space. You mentioned you've worked in fantasy sports for a while in different companies such as FanDuel.
Yeah.
So how do you position your product within this type of market, and where do you think the market is going?
Yeah. So we focus ourselves on always being the ones who are really providing the best games that really connect with our players, and always try to put that try to take luck out of it, put as much skill into it as we can. We were the first ones who created a reboot policy, and what that means is, if you picked a player to go more than his projection and he is injured in the first half, that's not your fault. That doesn't reflect anything about your skill. And so what we do is we will just take that player out of your lineup. So for example, if you had a player in a 6-player lineup and he is injured or he doesn't play, we'll just bump your lineup down to a 5-player lineup. And so you weren't penalized for that. And we're always looking for new ways to to do things to keep that focus on the player's skill. So we really position ourselves that way. We position ourselves as that fun aspect of making your experience playing, watching the games more fun, giving you more and more ways to interact and engage with other fans. That's been a super, super important part of our strategy. And yeah, I think what you'll see us do over time is look for not just how can we provide the player segment and the player persona that we have, more games that they're going to like and that are going to engage them further. How can we look, more broadly across the ecosystem and say, it's like 70% of Americans consider themselves sports fans, and there is nowhere close to that number who are who are playing fantasy or making lineups in that way. There's an unmet need in this market, and it is for us to discover that and build games that land there. I mean, and the opportunities before us are pretty vast. We could look at even making predictions around a variety of other things. We could look at because we could look at getting into international markets. Like, none of this stuff is locked into the roadmap yet, but it's certainly things we think about and needs that we're trying to fill. But we look at it as, if we are always keeping our players' best interests in mind, and we're always looking at how can we be the most fun, how can we make this the most entertaining, and always with that responsible gaming lens on everything. If we keep our focus there, we have high confidence that the products we're gonna create they're gonna do really well, and they're gonna keep us on this great growth trajectory we've been on to date.
I had the SVP of product from the NBA on the podcast, and he also shared crazy statistic. He said that they have over 1 billion fans worldwide, and
Yeah,
99% of them will never set foot in an arena. So I
that's
know
right.
you also work at the NBA Digital, and he was
Yeah.
talking about how to actually engage with people who are not there, and I believe that there is an opportunity to continue finding ways to do so.
I think that's absolutely right. And as we are. That's one thing I should add. We do study the way that fan behavior changes, and it certainly has changed a lot over time. When in the past, people felt this loyalty to teams. You would always follow your hometown team, and well, that's certainly not a thing of the past completely. Uh, the younger generation of fan has definitely turned their attention to players much more. You will see people who will say, well, I was a Cavaliers fan and then I was a Heat fan and now I'm a Lakers fan. I was like, well, no, those people are LeBron fans. And they want to know everything about him. They want to not just see how is he doing on the field, but what is he like with his family? What does he do off the court? That really focused, that new focus on the player is definitely a change in fan behavior that we've seen develop. And again, I think that is something that works in our product. Is you see those players kind of front and center when you log in, and you feel that emotional connection of like, oh, I know him. I want to learn more about him, and that makes me more interested in building a lineup with that player in it.
Yeah, to me, what's crazy is that in esports, that's happening at an even larger scale. There are esport players out there that have bigger followings than some of the superstars that we see in the traditional sports.
Yeah, that's totally right. They have done, I think esports in particular, they're so smart about how they promote themselves by giving you that access to them. It creates that connection. It makes you want to follow them.
Well, Brian, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, of course, Carlos. This was great. Thanks for having me on.